السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Good evening, everyone. I welcome each one of you by his name and personality. Thank you for coming and attending on time. I see that we should start now. We are almost about to have the following number, inshallah, participants. We have 6 participants now. Do you agree to start now?
Okay.
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 Thank you. First of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Mahmoud, Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim, Miss Nisma, Mr. Sayed, and Mr. Mahmoud Abdel Fattah. Thank you for coming on time. I really appreciate your efforts and being committed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Muhammad Ahmed, warm welcome, Mr. Muhammad. Welcome back, Mr. Yahya.
Welcome, Sabrine. How are you?
Fine, alhamdulillah, thank you.
I'm sorry for pausing. That's because of some technical issue happened here. It's related to poor connection on my side. So I'm sorry again about that.
No problem at all, sir. Welcome, Mr. Hussein. Thank you for coming and attending. Welcome back, Nisma. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sabri.
Thank you for coming on time. Can see my screen now? Can you see my
it's
screen?
black.
What about now? Is it clear for you all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, inshallah, tonight we will discuss step 9, which is about assessment, and some important points from step 2, which is related or highly connected to your task, inshallah, when you start training and observation at school, when you will train other teachers and observe them at classes. These points follow step 2, which is about young learners, but I connected it with step 9 because it's very connected to assessment and the topic we will discuss, inshallah, for today. These are the outcomes of our session. Take time to read, please. Take 2 minutes to read these outcomes. And I'd like to ask you at first, the emojis work with you? Does the emojis work with you? Nisma, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but could you please repeat your question?
Yes, of course. Does the emojis icon work with you all? If you'd like to give sum up or something? Yes? Please confirm all the participants. Tell me, Mr. It's not Mr. Yahya?
Okay, it's not function, especially chat box is not function here.
I'm not talking about chat box. I'm talking about the emojis. If you'd like to make emoji or send me some up, for example, some down.
No, no.
I'm talking that option is not accessible for me. Meanwhile,
Yeah, and me too, because I do.
All of you cannot either use the chat box or the emojis, right?
yes, that's right.
I send you some up now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you can. Okay.
It is
So we will use the mic.
Sabrina, it is.
I hear you, Nisma. Yeah.
Yeah, it is said that chat in a channel meetings is only available to meet to team members.
Okay, no problem. We will talk via mics. No problem at all. I'd like to activate other features of Teams instead, depending only on mics. But by the way, no problem at all. Okay.
Okay.
Have you read the outcomes of this session? Have you finished reading them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The warmer for today is what kind of room has no doors or windows? The one who can answer, please unmute yourself. Go on.
Please again.
Okay, it was on
Please
screen.
slow your
Okay.
instructions, please. Slow your instructions, please.
Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, what kind
No,
of room
no, no, no,
No,
no.
no, no, no. No, we
No,
can't.
no,
can?
no screen.
It's clear for some and others no,
Now,
right?
now it is appeared.
Nice, okay.
We can see nothing. Now it's clear.
It's clear now. Okay.
Okay, my question,
I can
what
see.
kind of room has no doors or windows?
Chat rooms.
Tom.
Chat room?
Chat rooms.
Other ideas? Maybe. Please, if you don't talk, unmute yourself, please.
I think Tom has no room and no door and no window.
What, Mr. Mahmoud?
Mahmoud Abdel Fattah.
What? What's your answer?
Tom. I think Tom.
Tom?
Yes.
Other ideas? Maybe. The answer is very easy. Okay, I'll show it on the screen now. Can you see the answer?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. It's just icebreaker to start the session. Okay. The first objective or outcome of our session is to identify these key items: proficiency, alternative, context, and assessment. Please match the keywords with the right definitions. Read the keywords and the definition and tell me what each key item matching with definition. If anyone ready
Please,
to
Miss
answer,
Sabrina,
please do.
if you please, Miss
Yes.
Context,
Yeah.
the place
Mr.
or setting where language
Alternative.
learning happens.
Mr. Mahmoud,
Context, yes,
Please,
matching
Miss
what?
yes,
Sabrina.
miss.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad, I
Context,
hear you
the
go.
Yeah.
Please,
Alternative, a different way or a new way of doing something.
yes, excellent. That's right. Yeah.
Proficiency
context,
learners' ability to
the
use
place or
the
setting.
language. Proficiency learners' ability to use the language.
Yes, that's it.
That's it.
Well done.
Context, the general term for any information. And assessment is a place or setting where language learning happens.
Can I answer, Ms. Sabrina?
That's my answer.
Okay, thank you,
Can I
Mr.
answer?
Muhammad. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, proficiency here means learner's ability to use the language.
Mr. Muhammad has answered the proficiency and alternative right, Mr. Yahya. If you'd like to add, you can define context.
Okay, context is a place or setting where language learning happens. I think it's in the meaning of situation. Context here.
Yes, it's true. Thank you, Mr. Yahya. Mr. Mahmoud, you'd like to participate? What about assessment?
Assessment, a
I think
different
it's
or
a
new
general
way
term.
doing something.
Yes, right. Thank you for your participation. It's right. Here are the right order of the definition and keywords. Proficiency, as Mr. Muhammad has said, learners' ability to use the language. How learners use the language. They are elementary, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced. This is the quality of the language they have. It's called proficiency. Alternative, a different or new way of doing something. Something I substitute to do something or to say something is called an alternative. Context, as Mr. Yahya added, the place or setting where language learning happens. That's the situation of the language, is whether it either it's a grammar or conversation or another ideas about language. And assessment, a general term of any and always to get information how to collect information about our learners and their progresses in their learning processes. I think it's clear for all of you. If yes, please confirm. If you have any question about it, tell me. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay. I'd like to work in groups here. Mr. Muhammad Ahmed and Mr. Mahmoud is one pair. Nisma and Mr. Yahya is another pair. Mr. Mahmoud Mr. Muhammad Abdel Sattar and Mr. Mahmoud Abdel Fattah is the third pair. Rania and Mr. Said is the fourth pair. Each pair, please tell me what AFL, AOL, and AAL represent in assessment and what each abbreviation stands for. If you need me to repeat the instructions, please do. Ask me to do.
Okay. Can you repeat again?
Okay, I'd like to work in pairs. Mr. Yahya and Miss Nisma is responsible to give me one answer about this question on the screen. Mr. Muhammad Ahmed and Mr. Mahmoud Tawil is another pair. Miss Rania and Mr. Said is the third pair. The fourth pair, Mr. Mahmoud Abdel Fattah and Mr. Muhammad Abdel Sattar to give me an answer. If any pair of you have any answer about the gaps, please do.
How would we work in pairs?
I nominated the names Mr. Yahya.
I know.
Break.
Will you group us in broken down groups or?
No, it doesn't require rooms. If you or Nisma can talk. If have any answer. If you or Nisma have answer, please do. I'd like the all to participate. I hope you got my idea now.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yes.
got you.
Yeah, okay. The first abbreviation AFL stands for Assessment for Learning. I think.
Right, Nisma. Thank you. Mr. Yahya, can you give me the example?
Assessment for learning, like some submissive assessment.
Summative assessment. Okay. What about the other pairs? Any pair can tell me about AOL? Rania or Mr. Sayed, Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim, Mr. Muhammad
Yes,
Yusuf.
Sabrine.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad Sattar. Yes, Rania, okay?
AOL is acronym for Assessment of Learning.
Yes, excellent. Mr. Sayed, can you give me an example of AOL?
Again, I can't hear. Well, okay.
Can you give me an example of AOL? It doesn't matter the answer to be correct. We have discussion to reach the right one. Okay? No problem.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Muhammad, can you give an example of AOL? Assessment of learning. Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim, can you? Rania, you can? Mr. Mahmoud Abdel Fattah, can you?
Yes, Sabrine. AAL stands for Assessment as Learning.
Yes, excellent. What about examples? Can you, Rania? Can you, Nisma? Okay, let's see.
Yeah, maybe.
Please again. AAL refers to what?
Mr. Mahmoud, I give abbreviation. AOL stands for Assessment of Learning. If you have an example of assessment of learning, please tell us. And AAL is Assessment as Learning. If you have example.
Like tests or exams?
What is this, Mr. Muhammad? It is AOL or AAL?
AAL.
AAL, okay. For ideas and your contribution. Okay, Nisma, do you like to say something?
Yeah, I think assessment as learning, maybe it the activities, doing the activities during the lessons, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay, something approaches like that, but it is not exactly. I will show you the answers now and elaborate this for you, okay? AFL, as Mr. Yahya has said, or Miss Nisma, I can't remember exactly, stands for Assessment for Learning. From the title given here, Assessment for Learning, something I use to assess the learning and the progress of my learners. And this happens, Mr. Yahya, in formative, not summative assessment. It's for learning, not
It's
of
mine.
learning.
It's mine's late. I slipped.
No problem.
This is a slip. I know that's a slip, and that happened against my will, because I'm willing to answer correctly.
Look, okay, no problem, sir. I put it in question to enrich just the discussion, no more. No, don't pay attention to have the wrong or correct answer, okay? This is AFL. It's assessment for learning. We follow learners and give them instructions, give them learning strategies to do, and by during our learning process we need to assess learning that did we achieve the outcomes or no, what we will do to observe and monitor our learners and give them formative assessment to know what they need, if they achieved and got our outcomes, or they still need help. And of course, we in this case we will do. The second abbreviation, which is AOL, stands for, its abbreviation for Assessment of Learning. From the title given here, Assessment of Learning, that's the assessment which happen by the end of each module, for example, each unit, or by midterm, or by the end of the year. And this, of course, happens in the form of summative assessment, which may be test or no, because today we will learn about summative assessment is not only tests or exams. I hope you got my idea about AFL and AOL. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. And the third abbreviation is AAL, stands for Assessment as Learning. And of course, as learners, we have responsibility regarding our and our learning process. We should, as a teacher, the learning process and get learners feel that they are responsible for their progress, not only depend on teacher to guide them. What's the role of teacher here and what's the role of the student? The teacher just gives the student hints regarding their mistakes and their weaknesses. Then what the student do? The student should put a plan for himself or herself and follow a certain planning to get better and improve. The example of AAL is self-assessment. I give my learners a checklist and ask learners to assess themselves based on what they see themselves. Then, based on self-assessment, I ask learners to put a plan for them and follow in conditions that after a certain while, I get learners not at the same level. They take a step ahead for a better level. I hope you got my idea. If you're still confused, please tell me.
Yes, Mr. Saulian.
I think
Yes, Mr.
that
Saulian.
needs even more explaining.
Even more? Okay. Mr. Yahya, about the three items or just one of them?
Okay,
You-
the three items, because that's really confusing.
Okay, I will do, inshallah. Regarding the first one, AFL, which is Assessment for Learning, it's assessment which I follow during each class I do with my student. And each period, I put outcomes for my learners, and by the end of the or during the class, I think about what my learners doing. Are they respond to me? Are they interactive? Some of them interactive or not? And in this case, what I do, I give my students a kind of assessment which is formative to know where my learners are. This assessment, formative assessment, like exercises, filling gaps, matching, and role play. Then, after my class has ended, I guarantee that all my learners has achieved the outcome and got the information of me. This is assessment for learning. I provide my learners with exercise and practices to get better and improve their level, but this is inside the learning process, not after. This is during the learning process. But assessment of which AOL, the second item, it happens by the end of each unit, for example, or midterm, or by the end of the year.
Okay, to breathe and not to consume your time. You mean here to measure here how is your learning process going ahead? Okay, so the first kind of assessment, measure or testing the learning, so that can push my learners to get ahead and get a much higher step in their learning and to strengthen their learning. And the second kind is AOL, is to assist their learning, okay, or to check whether they learn it or not. That to make sure that or ensure that their learning is very good process or going good.
Here we judge Mr. Yahya that if they should move to another level or not, they succeed. That's OAL. But AFL is they improve during the learning process. They going on improving and doing better.
This is the point I meant to use.
So sorry. I have a question here.
Yes.
Please.
Go ahead.
What is the difference between AOL and evaluation? What is the difference between AOL and evaluation?
Okay.
This is my question.
Okay, Mr. Mahmoud. AOL, Mr. Mahmoud, is a kind of assessment, and it's simply the summative assessment. Okay? Evaluation is a big umbrella for testing and assessment, because if we would like to talk about evaluation, we have three inner circles. The inner one, which is the smallest, is called test. The wider one is called assessment. And the outer one is called evaluation. Evaluation, that's the final judge of the learners.
So the elements as testing and measurements. Please. So all the elements like testing, measurements, assessments is elements of evaluation. Is it clear? Is it okay? As I understand from you. Testing, measurement, assessment is elements of evaluation.
Evaluation is the big evaluation is the big umbrella. After you test and give the summative assessment, Mr. Mahmoud, and give the summative assessment, here you give your learners a grade. They will fail or succeed. The final step you take in this is called the evaluation. Who fails and who succeeded is evaluated now. After everything you do, you know that summative assessment is a kind of have grades or have marks, right?
Maybe.
You mean here? Okay, this is a question, Mr. Preen, to lock down this point. So you mean here the AOL is a component? Okay, we can deal here with AOL as a component of evaluation, not evaluation itself, but as a part of evaluation.
Yes, Mr. Yahya, to be more clearer and don't confuse you, AFL, AOL, AAL, all below assessment. After we do all this, but each one has a stage. You know that we start with formative assessment, then self-assessment, and by the end of the year, is a summative assessment. After this all, we have the final result. The final result here is called evaluation. Evaluation includes testing, assessment with its different times, and it is the bigger or the widest circle, as I have mentioned.
That can provide me the final. Now it's clear that can provide me with the final appraisal of my learner's profession. Sorry.
What, Mr. Yahya?
Sorry. What I know here, that assessment is to increase quality, but evaluation is to judge quality. But the thing which I don't know, the thing which I don't know, that you said summative assessment is to judge. It's not to judge. Sorry for interrupt you, or sorry to use that word, but it's not used to judge. Okay, Mahmoud Abdul Karim. Summative assessment is not to judge, but it's used at the end of the lesson or at the end of the unit to put our hands on what the shortage. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Said. I said that evaluation is the final judgment. I didn't say to judge. I said I said that summative assessment give mark or grade to your learners. Then the final thing after they fail or pass is the evaluation. They judge, they pass the exam, they exceeded my expectation, they are still below my expectation. This is the evaluation. The final thing, I didn't say that summative assessment is judgment, okay?
Okay.
Not to be confused, they are the three items here below assessment item. And evaluation is something like after doing all the tools, after do testing and assessment and do formative and self-assessment, then comes evaluation. You know, the final result.
If you,
Because the summative
if you,
assessment is not necessarily be by the end of the year.
Okay.
if you please, Ms. Sabri.
Of course, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, I understood from these steps that are every step should follow the other. I mean, I give formative assessment. I give instructions to students. Then the next step should be a summative assessment. Students give me as a whole, and then the third step should be self-assessment from the students themselves. I think.
Yes, Mr. Mahmoud, you are
You,
right.
you understand me?
Yes, you are right. You want to say that
يعني
they
in Arabic,
build
if
on
you
each
please,
other. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Arabic if
Okay.
you please تعليمات وبعدين الطلبة تدي حاجة عامة للدرس وبعدين هم يطلعوا نفسهم ايه استفادوا من نفسه يدوا سيلف اسسمنت الثيرد ستيب. That is what I understood.
Yes, thank you for your contribution, Mr. Mohammed. You are right, but I'd like to add just a little thing here. As self-assessment is not the last thing. I start with formative assessment as a teacher. Then I should make my learners feel responsible regarding their learning process and include them to put plans to improve themselves. This is during learning. But what happens then? Summative assessment. Summative assessment is not necessarily by the end of the year. We can do summative assessment by end of the month, for example, or by end of module or unit. You know that revision of the whole unit or monthly tests is called summative assessment. But if I put an exam by the end of the year and here give my grade or marks, they succeed or pass, they will exceed the expectation or still below expectation. Here there is no problem to give more formative assessment. Here the evaluation happens. I hope I can convey the idea for you. After failing or
Okay.
passing, succeeding or not, this is called the evaluation, the overall result by the end of the year.
So
Right?
you mean here, Miss Sabrine, the overall appraisal here means the evaluation, the outcome.
Yes. But summative assessment doesn't include evaluation. The evaluation is step higher than assessment.
Higher than, okay. Nice.
Because you can do summative assessment by the end of unit, by months, by year, midterm. But
Includes
when the final final judgment is by the end of the year. After this happens, it's called evaluation. Because the learner here is decided to stay in the same stage or move to the next one. Okay, got it now?
Okay.
Thank you. I will send you to breakout rooms. Please discuss, but in 3 minutes, please. What's the difference between summative and formative assessment?
Hello, Sabrine.
Yes, Mr. Yahi.
Okay, could you repeat again the instructions, please?
Okay, I'll send you to breakout rooms now to discuss the difference between summative and formative assessment.
Okay, but I feel like to ask you before we go into broken down groups to give me the meaning, to explain again the meaning of AAL.
Mr. Yahya, go to breakout room please now, and I will do everything for you. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm sorry for annoying you.
No problem at all.
Okay.
Have you joined the rooms?
How would we join to the rooms?
I assign some of you to join room 1 and others to join room 2.
Sorry, I'm terrible in using this technology.
It will appear on the screen now, Mr. Mohammed. Okay. Shall you join now or I cancel it?
It's up to you. You can cancel it if you feel like to do this.
Okay. Let us discuss here what's your ideas about formative and summative assessment.
Okay, can I talk now?
Of course, yes.
For me, formative assessment is used continuously during the lesson when we start until the end. But summative assessment is used at the end of the lesson or at the end of the unit that we can measure what we have reached. This is my answer.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. That's right. Any other ideas? Anyone would like to participate?
Yes, Mr.
Here
Ibrahim.
are some. Okay, go ahead.
I think
Formative.
formative
Okay, sir.
assessment is ongoing assessment.
Yes, is ongoing assessment. Thank you. It's a key point, Mr. Mahmoud. Mr. Said, I think.
Okay, for summative one, I can it is considered as the final result for achievement which happened during the class.
Yes, excellent. Summative
For formative,
for.
yes, summative. This is one way I
Okay,
talk
thank
about.
you.
For formative,
Yes.
I can think that it's depend on teacher for something more.
Yes, it's teacher instructions.
Because I think it's the main stage, the main period, the main step for processing learning during the class.
Yes, yes, Mr. Mahmoud, I think. Okay, Mr. Said.
Okay, I think a formative is during this kind of assessment, this it needs teacher, okay, to be inside the action, to be inside the classroom, to give advice, give a guidance for them.
Yes, your ideas are true. Thank you. Here are some key points or key tips for the difference between summative and formative assessment. I think has technical issue. Here, formative assessment happens during learning, and summative assessment happens after learning, after the end of units of module, or by the end of the year, by midterm, and so on. But for the purpose of formative assessment for improvements, give more instruction and facilitation for my students to get better, to move from a lower level to higher one. But the purpose of summative assessment to pass or fail, to succeed or not, to stay in the same stage or to move to the next. Here, the formative assessment, the teacher main purpose is to identify learner's level to help him. Here, punishment or reward. The punishment may be failure or may be preventing a promotion. You know that if you want to get a promotion in a job, you should succeed interview or pass tests, and all of us are quite aware of these things. Or reward, for example, to join a college or to move to the next stage or to get a promotion, as I mentioned earlier. Here, feedback, pair work, group work. How does the teacher here gives the students after they do something wrong, give feedback. They use the feedback and get better. I can carry out it via pair work. Let the students give each other peer feedback or class discussion or group work. Here I give students a grade or mark exams. It happens in the form of exams and gives the students marks. They, for example, may take 7 out of 10 and others get 10 of 10 and so on. Here, forming learners' progress. The idea here that is formative assessment formulate the learner's progress, build the learner's capacity or muscles to proceed in the learning process and get better level. But here, learners throughout the course, I assess what the learner have learned, what they got from the course or throughout the year. Clear for all of you?
No,
Yes, it's
please.
clear, Ms. Sabri.
Okay, who says no?
Me, summative assessment is not
Mr.
clear.
Mahmoud? Okay, Mr.
Yeah.
Mahmoud. Okay. Assessment happens after learning.
Okay.
Is it clear for you?
Okay, because of time, we can. Because of time, I have a misunderstanding between summative assessment and evaluation, and this is because of our time and my colleague's time, so we can go on.
You can call me anytime, Mr. Mahmoud. Okay. Here, making
thanks a lot.
meaningful. Most welcome, sir. Making meaningful assessment. What does meaningful assessment mean? Share your ideas, please.
Can I share here?
Of course, Mr. Yahya.
Okay, making a meaningful assessment here means to design assessment, whether it is summative or affirmative assessment, to serve the learning process. So here we are going to learn how to design a affirmative assessment, so that, as you mentioned, to muscle or to strengthen the muscles of our learning, learners' learning. And that's yes, and some summative assessment is to measure how much they went with their learning, how much they did achieve or have achieved with their learning. This is I think this is the meaning, the meaning of the meaningful assessment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yahya. You gave a good elaboration about formative and summative assessment, but let me give you some ideas about meaningful assessment. From the item meaningful, something has meaning and engage our students. Of course, it is not necessary to be tested. I should include games, quizzes, homeworks, worksheets, and activities. These are called meaningful because if I give the student or assess the students based on exam or tests, they are feeling boring and have the fear. You know that some students have good levels but don't score good at exams, right? and others have bad level but lucky at exams. So I don't make the exam just the tool for assessment. I can include other tools like as I mentioned games and activities like group work, pair work, and so on. Homeworks, these are. And the most important thing is to test or assess learners based on what I already taught them. It is unfair to give my learners something and assess them in something far away from what I already taught them. Is it clear now?
Okay.
Okay, can I add a point here?
Or I can.
I think Mr. Muhammad Ahmed is raising his hand. Sorry, I can't see you. Go ahead, Mr. Muhammad, please.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad. تفضل. Okay, Mr. Said Noor, okay?
Mahmoud.
Okay,
Mahmoud.
Yes.
Mr. Mahmoud. Okay.
Okay, can I add a point here? We
course,
we
Mr.
we have we know all assessment can measure learning outcomes of the student's ability, but I think some of our colleagues doesn't know the aim of the assessment. The aim of the assessment is to improve students' learning, not to measure. Is it right or wrong? This is my own opinion. And to provide reliable information regarding students' progress. This is my own information about assessment, the aim of the assessment. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mahmoud, here I didn't dedicate formative or summative assessment. That's why this is journal item. That's why I said we can give quizzes, games, tests. Yani tests is something included here. If I talk about summative, here I should include tests. If I talk about something else, here quizzes, games, homeworks, worksheets, journals, presentations, and pair work, homework. All these are called meaningful assessment.
Could I add something else, Mr. Brain?
Yes, Mr. Lee.
Okay, our colleague here, I think, means is to refer to a very important point that everyone, I'm thinking, or the most of people or most of teachers in Egypt are neglecting this point, is to use just one kind or type of assessing their learners. So you can see a teacher who uses a just formative assessment. No, and he feels that's enough, and he wouldn't to, to use another kind of assessment to benefit his learners. And I think this the most common idea here in Egypt that assessment is to measure learning, not to improve learning. But this is why I've learned really today is to add for your learners learning by assessment. I know I do that naturally, but I don't know exactly how. I didn't know how exactly to do that. And really, finally, I would like to thank you about this.
Welcome, sir. It's my duty. But you raised a very important point here. We to the next step. That's you are moving about, Mr. Yahya. That's all what you talking about in the next stage. Inshallah, we will cover. But meaningful assessment, before I move, that's to include variety of activities and variety of tools. Don't limit the assessment in general and tests. You can vary your activities here and related to learners' interests and preferences. Okay. Here, what Mr. Yahya was talking about, we will introduce something is very important. It's called considerations in assessment design. When I design a kind of assessment, what I'll do, what I should pay attention to. This activity needs to be wholly focused and more concentration, please. It is not difficult at all, but what required is to concentrate. Okay, here you have a grader table with numbers and the alphabet, all the alphabet letters, 26 letters. And we have numbers from 1 to 26. Here I give you some numbers in an addition process, and I'd like to, sorry, I will make you feel tired, to have a pen or pencil and collect this number and give me the item based on the numbers. Did you get my idea?
Unfortunately, I haven't joined to scientific schools to
Okay.
calculate this and get the sum up and make outcomes and the shape of letters. That's really tough for me because I'm really dull about math.
Okay, Mr. Yahya and others, please do this task because I'd like you don't forget these 4 items because it's really crucial and critical.
Okay, give me another explain. Give it more explaining, please.
Okay. Here we have a table and each square have squares. Each table have one number and one alphabet letter, okay? We
Right.
have numbers from 1 to 26. Then we have the letter from A to Z. What I want you to do now here is for mathematical process. It's addition process to find the number and put the letter or write the letter in the number here. For example, I have 16 and 16 is the letter, write B. Then I have 18 and 18 is the letter R. Then write R, that's an I have VR, and so on. Then give me the item. What's the item which result from this process?
Okay.
Saranya, can
I
you
used to be good at
rephrase what I
mathematics, but
mentioned, please?
can't understand.
I don't want you to give me
No,
the
I
result, but
couldn't understand.
rephrase the instruction, please. You couldn't understand? I will do the first one, okay?
Yeah, I couldn't
But
give
please
example.
do the answer.
Yeah, I want you to do with it. Okay.
Okay, follow me, please. We have here 16. 16, the letter.
B.
What's besides 16?
Practicality.
B. Excellent. Very good. Who has answered?
Mahmoud Abkarim.
Thank you, Mahmoud. Practicality. Warm thanks. Really.
Again,
Fantastic.
please.
Okay. Okay, Nisma, I'll do now. Here we have 16. 16 we have B. I write B. Then 18. 18 have R. Then I write R here. Then we have 1. 1 is the letter A. Then we have 3. 3 here is the letter C, Nisma. Right? Then we have 20. 20 here is letter
Number
C.
two.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it's very easy. It was very easy.
Can I answer
Sorry.
number 2? Miss Salih.
Yes, of course, Mr. Muhammad. فينك Mr. Muhammad? Okay.
Validity. I think it's validity.
Valid.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Very good. What about
Thank you, Mrs.
number 3? Most welcome, sir. Thank you. What's number 3? Number 4, if it's difficult, I know that number 3 is confusing. What's about number 4?
I think it's authentic.
Yes, authenticity. Thank you. Who's answered? Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim, and who else? Who answered number 4? Who answered number 4, please? Okay.
I did, Miss
Any-
Sabrine.
Mr. Yahya?
I did.
Mr. Hussein? Okay, thank you. Who can answer number 3? Okay, I will show you the answers now. Number 1 is practicality. Number 2, validity. And
Yes.
number 3, yes, reliability. And number 4 is authenticity. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Because time is running, we here have a game, but I will play it with you now, but you will answer. Okay? I didn't send you the, so I don't send you the link. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
It's white.
Yes.
Okay. Please. Okay, can you see the questions and the key items? Anyone tell me, please, can you see the question and the items here?
Yes, Sabrine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Evaluation of learning or skills that is done during the learning process. Who can guess what is this? Is it authenticity, practicality, reliability, summative, validity, or formative assessment?
Formative assessment.
Formative.
Formative, of course.
Okay. Every time the assessment is given or taken, the result will be similar when everything else is equal.
Reliability, I think.
Validity, I think.
Okay.
Valid.
I will answer based on your answers, then see the results, then I will give you my answers, okay? Creating realistic opportunities to practice the language. What is this? To create realistic
Authenticity. Practicality
or authenticity?
I guess it's authenticity.
Practicality. Okay, Miss Rania,
Yes.
I hear your answer and I keep it in mind. Okay. And
Okay.
evaluation of skills or learning at the end of a class, unit or instructional
Summative.
period.
Summative assessment.
Okay.
Summative assessment.
Testing what you teach. To test what you teach. It's what? It's authenticity or validity?
Validity.
Validity. Okay.
To check whether it's valid to teach or not. I think that's validity.
The ease of use and design for both students and teacher.
Authenticity.
Okay. I'd like, before checking the answer, to inform you that's your answers, not mine, okay? And I tell
Not
you,
mine
Rania, that
also.
not okay. And Miss Rania has another opinion regarding something. Okay. Miss Rania, I know that you will have the correct answer. You your grade is 4 out of like to play.
Yes, Sabrine.
Okay.
Or you may reveal the answers.
Okay. It's number 1, create realistic opportunities to practice the language.
We don't have the yes, now we have.
What? Creating
Creating
realistic opportunities to practice the language.
authenticity.
Yes. Okay, I will share with you now. Okay, I will answer with you. The ease of use and design of both students and teacher. To make the test easy for student and teacher, for student to answer and teacher to correct. It's called
Validity.
practicality.
Yes.
Practicality.
Yes, evaluation of learning or skills that is done during the learning process. I think it's very easy.
Formative.
Formative assessment. An evaluation of skills or learning at the end of class,
Summative.
unit, or instruction. Yes, it's
Summative.
Okay. Testing what you teach. It's validity. Okay. Every time the assessment is given or taken, the results will be similar.
Reliability.
Reliability. Yes, excellent. We will see the result. Okay, 6 out of 6. Thank you. Here, practicality, as we see, that refers to the ease of use and design for both teachers and students. How does happen? The teacher, the exam is easy for the teacher to correct. It's not too long, and all the questions are easy questions, essay questions. And for the students, easy to answer. You know that essay question consumes the time, and the students may not have cover all the dedicated questions in the dedicated time, so they may forget to revise and forget to write something. That's one thing of practicality. Easy to give and score. It's include a variety of activity of questions, multiple questions, filling in gaps, and essay questions, and of course meet all the learners level. Not only clever or high level students can answer, and low students cannot behave at all. You know that exam should include easy and more challenging points, and can be given and scored within a reasonable amount of time. Students should end and answer all the questions before the dedicated time, and they have extra time to revise. Yeah, it is unfair to give students so long test and consume their time, and they just answered 2 questions out of 3. And for the teachers who correct these answers, they feel boring and tired, and may suffer from some students who are haven't good handwriting, and they need more and more effort to can write and give the grade or mark. This is practicality. In simply to give an exam easy for to answer and for the teacher to correct. This is practicality. But validity, as Mr. Yahya mentioned or have referred to, that to give the students exam based on what I already taught them. It's unfair to give my students something out of curriculum or something they haven't learned or I didn't teach them. I ask a critical question, but in the same area, not go beyond this, because the metacognitive ability for a student is limited. Okay, that's valid. Reliability, if I give exam for more than one student, but all the students whom I give the exam have the same level, and they all have the same exam environment. What is the result? What do you think about the do the students should have different result or have the same result? Do you follow me?
Please slow your instructions, please.
Okay, here I talk about reliability. Okay, I think some people have left the meeting. Reliable. If I test 3 classes, for example, and those classes have 15 students or 50 students, and I give the 50 students the same exam, okay? And all the 50 students have the same level. What about the result? Does the result should necessarily be the same or no? What do you think? And
Of
they
course,
all
no.
have the same exact. Why, Mr. Mahmoud? They have the same level, the same exam, and the same environment in which they have the testing. Why no? If it happen and the result be different, the exam won't be reliable. Yes, Mr. Muhammad? I hear you, Mr. Muhammad. Go ahead, please.
I think they will
Yes.
similar.
Yes, if I give students with the same level and the same testing environment, the same exam, the result should be the same. If the result is different, there is something wrong. The exam here is not reliable. If you read through these lines, in order to make a strong assessment, we need to see consistency and dependability, accuracy testing. If you know the meaning of these two words, it's the same, means to be identical or to be the same. Okay? Consistency points to the idea that every time an assessment is given or taken, the results will be similar when everything else is equal. What is meant by everything else? Everything else is the student's level and the testing environment. They have the same equipment, the same place, the same learning context, and the same level. I suppose that I have students who all have B1 level, and they have the same exam, and they are testing in the same environment. The result should be the same. If this doesn't happen,
Sorry.
there is some.
Where is individual difference here?
Mr. Muhammad Mahmoud, I
Mahmoud, okay.
say yes, Mr. Mahmoud. I say, Mr. Mahmoud, that you have students, you test students with the same level, Suppose that
Okay,
you
okay,
have
I got it. I got
yes,
it.
thank you. Okay. Here, if two students of similar abilities take reliable assessment, then they will get the similar scores. Reliability is easy to maintain in objective assessment with the right or wrong answers, but can be more difficult in the subjective assessments. Do you know the difference between objective and subjective? Anyone have any idea
Yes.
here?
Yes.
Yes, Miss Marwan, you can go ahead.
Okay. Objective assessment and subjective needs maybe open-ended questions and you want to measure the critical thinking and the ideas of the students, but objective it have one answer, I think.
One answer, yes, you're right,
Correct.
Miss. Thank you.
One correct answer. One correct answer. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Miss. Thank you, really. Objective
Sorry, Miss
assessment
Sabrina,
or
sorry.
okay.
I think students have individual differences.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad, I know, but I say
I'm
suppose
sorry.
that you.
Sorry for interruption. She mentioned that they are all at the same level of language and the same profile of learning. So here she tends to use reliability here to confirm her the learning process of her learners. Okay, so to ensure whether that goes okay or not. This is a
You
really
know
important
that
thing.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rihi. You know differentiation, Mr. Muhammad, of course. Differentiation is to give tasks more relevant to the student's level. Okay, so I will choose a challenging task for 10 of my students who have a high level, okay, who are excellent. I will give those 10 students a challenging test. They have the same exam and the same level and the same exact testing environment. The result should be the same or at least approximate. Not one takes 0 and the other takes 10. The idea here, if one takes 0 and the other takes 10, the exam may be leaked. You know the meaning of leaked? I give a student, maybe or my nephew, for example. I give the exam before he go to school, and he already knows the answers, and he will answer all the question right and get 10 of 10, and the rest of the students will take lower marks.
That's
You know,
cheating. That's
you
cheating.
know my idea now.
Your nephew is a cheater.
My nephew has the exam before his friends. This is unreliable. This thing shouldn't happen.
Yes.
You got my idea now?
Yeah, here you mean the valid action and non-valid action.
The reliable, not valid, Mr. Yahya, because valid relating to what I taught or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, Nisma, okay, go ahead.
يعني
That's why
ده
I
الصدق
told you to have your fresh juice or something you like, because I know that the content is rich. Yeah.
الصدق والثبات بالعربي كده الصدق والثبات.
Yes, because not all tests or not exams happen inside the schools. There are IELTS exams, TKT exams, high stake exams like ثانوية عامة. You know, in ثانوية عامة there are students have many students studying hard and do a great job. If I leaked you know that Xiaoming leaks when the students have the exam before they enter their classes for testing.
Previous information experience.
Yeah. تسريب
leak تسريبات. Yes, تسريب.
Okay. Yes.
Lakes. It's lake.
Okay, Mr. It's leaks. Okay. Here the exam is lacks reliability. I should pay attention to this points, because when you ask it to do some kind of assessment, you should pay attention to these items, and your exam should be reliable besides to be practical, as we mentioned earlier. The next one is authenticity. I think authenticity is very clear for all of us. Authenticity is something related to what I taught my learners, and if they can experience this in their real life or not. Some students study all during the year, but by the end, but after the exam ends, all the information or knowledge they gain pass away. They didn't, they cannot remember anything, or they cannot deal with it. If in this case, it's called an authentic exam, because I should pay attention to test my learners and the content and materials which I use during the year to be relating to real life. And the students can use what they have learned in their real life situations. What happened? An example of this ثانوية عامة at the Whale City. When they test the students, the question were multiple choice. All the students pass the exam and get C1 is advanced level. When they make interviews with or do interviews with these students, no one of them pass. Why? This is something strange. They have C1 level and cannot connect or communicate or pass an interview, there is something wrong. When they investigated something like that, they found that the material during the year was just focusing on the exam purposes and not pay attention or keep the students use this language which they learned in their real life situation. They cannot respond at anything they hear, and of course that's called unauthentic. What is the use of this? They have a grade but cannot use it at all. I think it's a chaos here. So authentic.
They have learned just for exams.
Yes, just for exam, and they didn't even pay يعني exert any effort to make this.
So how
Yes,
to use the
exert.
language in real life.
Real
Yes.
exam.
Yes, excellent. That's it. Okay, that's authenticity. And materials activities assessment are measured in terms of how well prepare learners to communicate outside the classroom. Here, I know that this item is challenging, to somewhat challenging. Choose authentic, unreliable, or unpractical, or invalid. The exam is too long and cannot be covered on the dedicated time. What's it called?
Valid.
Unpractical, I think.
Yes, Nisma, thank you. Unpractical. It's too long and cannot be covered on the dedicated time. Unpractical. I know that this item is very challenging. Number 2, the exam doesn't assess what is already taught. What do you think?
Invalid.
Yes, Nisma, thank you. Please, someone else other than Nisma answer number 3. Students
She's the
get
master
high.
of answer, Miss Nisma. That's really known. She's the master of answer. MashaAllah.
May Allah bless her. Students get
The-
high. Yes.
Unreliable students get high grades but cannot communicate.
Mr. Mahmoud, I can't hear you. Number 3?
Yes, unreliable.
No.
Gets
Authentic, I think.
high grades but cannot communicate or use language in real life. That's authenticity. Yes, Mr. Yahya, thank you. Students have the same level and the same exam environment but different marks. That's called unreliable. Okay. It's very easy, but some little reading that's okay. I will send the file as soon as the lecture ends, inshallah. Mr. Mahmoud, I'd like to check your understanding, please. If I have too long exam and the students cannot answer all the questions on the time, it's called what?
Unpractical.
Yes, excellent. Unpractical. If I test my learners and they cannot use the language outside the classroom, it's called
Unreliable.
Cannot use the language outside the classroom, Mr. Yahi.
No.
Authentic.
Unauthentic.
Invalid.
Yes, excellent. Unauthentic. If I teach my learner something, I test them in something else, it's called
Invalid.
invalid. Yes, excellent. If I have 3 students with the same level, with the same exam environment, but one gets 0 and the 2 others get a 10 out of 10, it's called
Unreliable.
yes, unreliable. Okay, thank you. What do you think about wash back? It's called wash back or backwash. The both are correct. What's wash back? Mr. Muhammad Ahmed has mentioned it in our session today. What's wash back or backwash? Any ideas?
Refresh ideas.
Refresh ideas. What else?
Maybe feedback.
Okay. Any other ideas? Okay.
The
Let
effect
me
of
show you
testing.
effect of testing. Okay, it's something approaching like that. Mr. Muhammad Ahmed, right? It's the
No,
negative
Mahmoud at all.
impact. Okay, Mr. Mahmoud, thank you. It's the negative impact of the exam. Teaching for exam purposes. I just focus to teach or to teach my learners just to answer and pass the exam. No matter if they will acquire something new, acquire a new skill, they build on this what they have learned for the next years and move on to a better level. No, it's my focus here. My focus is just to get my learner the exam, no, regardless what is happening next. This is called washback or backwash. In some cases, washback is positive, and in other cases, it's negative. How? It may be positive if my teaching cover what learners should learn. Suppose I have learners at preparatory 1 and they should know
But how washback can be positive? I think it's a negative impact of the exam. But
Can I add my
how
answer,
washback can be
Mr.
positive?
Muhammad?
Yes,
I'm sorry
please
for
go ahead.
interruption, my colleagues.
Mr.
So
Muhammad are quite right, but there is some a little exception. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Yahi.
I think that speaking of negative and positive washback can be a negative or likely to be negative when it covers information but doesn't acquire or give them absorb any kind of skill that can benefit them for long lives for the in long term. I'm sorry, as a long life skill. This is the negative for washback. But the positive thing is to acquire the information, to learn the rule. For instance, we're learning a grammar rule. So making yourself taking the most of the lesson, which is related to the grammar rule, and mastering how to use, for example, the past simple or present simple perfectly. That's good. Writing on paper in theoretically way, but practically, practically that doesn't function or doesn't work and doesn't make sense at all. So we need to care
Mr.
alongside.
Yahya,
Uh,
Mr.
can you hear
Yahya,
me?
your sound is cutting.
Okay, can you hear me
Your
now?
sound is cutting off.
Can you hear now? Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
Yes, I hear you.
shall I repeat what I said or not?
Okay. Because time is running.
Can I
Let
add
me
something here?
say some. Okay. Who's talking?
Please,
Okay.
Mahmoud. In positive
Okay, Mr.
washback, and positive washback teaching, the curriculum becomes the same as teaching to a specific test.
What?
Okay,
Sorry,
that's
I
all
can't
what I
hear
want
you.
to say.
Mr.
Okay,
Mahmoud, please.
and positive washback teaching, the curriculum becomes the same as teaching to a specific test.
Teaching the curriculum the same as a specific test. Yes. Okay. I'd like to say something just a little. Washback, as Mr. Muhammad Ahmed it's thought about washback is negative. But in certain position or certain states, it can be positive if it covers what learners should know at this age and at this stage. If it covers the skills and the knowledge required for the students to stay in this age, it called positive washback. In case that the students build on this knowledge and use it in the future. That's the only states that we can say that washback is positive, not negative.
Okay.
You got my idea now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, here the point of alternative of summative assessment. Summative, it's by end of unit or by end of midterm exam. Can you give your ideas? What's the other options I can use instead of testing or tests or exams? What's your ideas?
If it's ongoing testing, we can use CCQs, I think, instead. That's
Okay.
yes, well, that will be useful for saving our time from killing and consuming.
Okay, CCQs is it's summative, Mr. It's formative, Mr. Yahya, because it's
I'm
called
sorry. Oh,
social
it's really
questions.
confusing.
No, at all,
I'm
Mr.
so
Yahya.
sorry. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Maybe researches.
Yes, excellent. And presentation. I ask my students by the end of the unit to give me a presentation summarizing the whole unit, or maybe who teach primary students here? There's something we do by the end of each unit. It's summative assessment. Primary teachers.
Oral exam.
Oral exam, yes.
Something we do by the end of each unit, from primary 1 to primary 4 till now in Connect. It's a project. By the end of each unit, we have a project, ask students to carry out a project and to talk about it. It's a kind of summative assessment. And we have something called learners' portfolios. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
Yes, learners' portfolio is to keep a record of each student in my class and give them tests or questions, then give a mark, keep this in a record, then the next month I will give them another one and keep it again. This is ongoing process. By the end of the year, follow my learners' improvements. Are they improving or stay in the same level? It's called the learner's portfolio, and it is another option of of summative assessment. Here some ideas, essays and projects, presentations, speeches, skits or commercials. Commercials to ask students to make something like advertisement, and sketch something like that advertisement, and give use pictures, use a simple with a simple sentence, ask students who to work in groups, and the group who will and ask other classes to vote which advertisement is the best. The group who has the best advertisement will be the winner. It's also another option for summative assessment, to make my students produce something, not just answer theoretical or written question. Portfolios and using rubrics. This time I will give my learners rubrics. I will assess you on writing a short sentence, and after a week I will assess you on writing a complicated sentence. Then I will assess you to write a complicated sentence with right punctuation, and the fourth week I will assess you on punctuation, writing sentence, and with correct spelling. If I don't specify spelling in my rubrics and there are spelling mistakes, I shouldn't give my learners incorrect answer because my rubrics doesn't include spelling. You got my idea?
Okay.
Could you repeat
Then
what does rubric again? What does rubrics again?
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Yahya. Okay. If I assess my learners on writing on a written task, okay, I shouldn't assess my learners on the whole the writing rubric at once. First, I have a class each week. On the first week, I will assess you based on writing correct simple sentence. Okay. Then the next week, I will assess you based on writing a complicated sentence with right punctuation. I will here pay attention to your punctuation. If you are mistaken here, you will get low marks. The third week, for example, I will assess you based on punctuation, spelling, and writing correct grammatical structure, complicated sentence with correct punctuation, with correct spelling. Here, if I met spelling mistakes, I should pay attention to it and ask my students to improve it. But in week 2, should I pay attention to spelling and I didn't tell them about that I will pay attention to spelling mistakes? No. I neglect that because it doesn't include in my rubrics. It's just an example. You the rubrics based on your students' levels and your teaching curriculum. You are the teacher and you are responsible. So in writing paragraphs, I think most of us suffer from this task because not all students able to do that. So rubrics here is the solution. Sorry. Each time I dedicate something for my learners, till by the end of a certain period which I dedicate as a teacher, they can write a full right paragraph. Other options for formative assessment, it's very easy. I do with all of you. What are options for formative assessment? Any ideas? What we will do in this training?
Yeah,
I
games.
use what with you?
Yeah, games.
Games, yes, it's one thing. Thank you, Nisma. Other ideas?
Discussions.
Discussion, thank you. What else?
Giving instructions.
Role
Yes,
playing.
Mr. Muhammad, thank you. Yes, role playing is an option. Thank you. What else? Padlet, to make my learners reflect on my lesson, to mention one thing they have learned. I make sure that they got something of my class or no. It's another option. Exit tickets. If you make ask your students they won't leave the class before they give mention something they have learned, they won't go out. It's called exit tickets. They are all options of formative assessment. Something I'd like to carry out with my learners. It's called anecdotal notes. So something like a table, and you write a short piece of paper, write the student's name and weaknesses and strengths point. And for the weaknesses, you recommend your student to do something to overcome these weaknesses. And the checklists, it's as we've mentioned by the start of the session, self-assessment, make learners to check what they can do and cross what they can do. They can't, sorry. And exit tickets, I have mentioned it, self-assessment or response cards. To have two cards, a red card and a green card. If the student has the answer and can answer, they raise the green card. If they cannot, they raise the red card. Sum up and sum down. I asked you by the start of the session if you can use the emojis icon because I'd like to activate this with you. If you got something right, please sum up. If you still need help, sum down. And of course, go group, pair, individual activities, plus this discussion, as Mr. Mahmoud have mentioned. Debate is something like dialogue, but we have two teams here and conflicting team. Each team has a different opinion than the other, and each team is defending his opinion and tries to prove that his opinion is the right. It's called debate. And games, whether it's online or on ground games. And of course, we have a variety of activities to carry out games inside classroom. That's the shape or yes. Yes, Mr. Mohammed.
What is the meaning of the first item?
Where is it? Anecdotal notes?
The previous.
Here? For what? D?
Yes, the previous.
This, Mr. Mahmoud?
The previous slide.
Okay. Here, anecdotal notes?
Yes.
Yes, anecdotal notes. Here, it's the template for anecdotal notes. To have a short piece of paper. This paper includes your student name, the date of your class, the lesson. Then, if you notice that this student have a strength point in something, I will write it here in the strengths. And areas for improvement. This is the weaknesses point. Then let the student make a plan for himself or herself to overcome these weaknesses, or you as a teacher recommend your student for something to overcome these weaknesses. This is called anecdotal notes.
Okay.
Anecdotal, something like document, but not a big one. It's a small one, as the shape you've seen here. And this is a model or template of a checklist. If my students, for example, will give a presentation, the rubrics here, these are rubrics, Mr. Yahya, which I judge my students here. Is he or she speaking clearly? If yes, I will check yes or no, and here write my notes. Okay. Use appropriate volume. The sound is clear or have intonation or no, and something like that. Speak with appropriate speed. Speak slowly, speak quickly, and so on. Make eye contact while speaking. When the student is speaking while giving a presentation, he follows the audience, looking at the audience, or neglect that? Stay within time limit. His talking consumes the time, and cover all the points on time, or consume more time, or take less time. These are called rubrics, and the template here is called checklist. Can I use as a teacher, and at the same time I can let my students assess themselves in this checklist. If they do, it's called self-assessment. If I do as a teacher, it's called a checklist. Here's the most important thing. I hope to cover it before the time running. It's called classroom observation because after you deliver your training with the teacher you will train, you will observe some teachers. Okay? There are some regulation or some rules for observation. Teacher helping teachers. How? What do you think about this statement in classroom observation?
I think it's through finding out the strong and weakness point, I think, of the classroom, I think, or the teacher.
Yes, this one thing for the observed teacher. What about the observer? does the observer benefit anything from the observation? What do you think?
Sorry, could you repeat again the question?
Okay, in the observation process, we have the teacher who is the observer and the teacher who is observed. We have observer and observed teacher. Who benefit? What do you think? Is the teacher who is observed just benefit from the observation or both of?
I think the teacher who's get the benefit because you pointed again into his weakness points if he has.
That's your point, Mr. Yahya. What others? Yes, Mr. Muhammad.
I think each teacher should benefit from each other. The
Yes,
other
Mr.
and
Muhammad.
Yes.
Yes, the observer and the observed teacher. How can the observer benefit from the observer teacher? Any ideas?
By checking mistakes, errors.
Yes, this is one thing. What else?
Benefit
And
from
strength.
benefit from his personal experience about this field.
Yes, excellent. Get new ideas and experience. Yes, that's right.
Yes, and the points of strength of the teacher. I can
Yes.
yeah, I can make
Yes,
use of.
thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nisma. Peer observation benefit both the observer and the observer. Sorry, I've mistaken here. The observer and the observed teacher. Okay. Okay. Please, Mr. Mahmoud, read this paragraph, please.
Observer new techniques in action. Get new ideas for their teaching toolkits. Reflect
Yes.
on their own assumptions, beliefs, and teaching practice based on what they witness. Observe the teacher benefit from analyzing.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Let us stop here, please. As Mr. Mahmoud and Nisma have mentioned, get new techniques in action. Maybe the observer see in the class who is in the class who observing and the teacher who is doing the class something new for him. New technique the observer have no idea about. And I think there is no one have all the knowledge yet. Everyone, the person learning something new every day. Sorry, or get new ideas for their teaching toolkits. Toolkits is tool equipment. In Arabic, it's translated as صندوق العدة. اللي هي الآلات اللي بيستخدمها المعلم في التدريس. It's called toolkits. It can be rephrased as teacher resources. Okay, reflect on their own assumptions, beliefs, and teaching practice based on what they witness. They witness something in the classroom, they witness the teacher performance, how the students behave. Then the observer takes notes, then reflect on his personal one, give recommends or give or approve that the teacher behaves in an excellent or good way based on what he notices inside the classroom. Mr. Said, please read the observed teacher.
Okay, benefit from analyzing the descriptive data and the observer collects about classroom interaction in the classroom environment.
Can you explain it, please, Mr. Said?
Okay, read it or explain.
Explain, please.
Like to say he benefit from another one, okay, observe a teacher that another one get spot on him, so he get be developed in the next time, okay, get another details, get another ideas, okay, that helped him in all aspects of it.
Thank you very much. He will use these descriptive notes for better planning and make a better lesson in the future. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Muhammad Ahmed. Mr. Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim. Mr. Mahmoud Tawil.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead, please. Read the next point and explain it for us, please.
Okay, they can grow through discussion that result from observers, question and suggestions to improve learning outcomes. That means to divide students into groups or pairs and make a discussion and a question to improve their learning from the lessons. That's what I know from this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Of course, here the observer take notes and will ask the observed teacher question, but this happen post or after the class ends. From the question and suggestion he will give to the observed teacher, from the observed teacher will get benefit and will make an action plan him to get better or to deliver the lesson in a different way. Here, based on their discussion and reflections, both the discussion and reflection of the observer and the observed teacher, participant can develop action plans to improve their teaching practice. By the end of the day, peer observation can improve camaraderie, deepen collaboration. Do you know that camaraderie meaning? It's initiative friendship. Will improve the relationship between the two teachers because it have certain techniques and strategies to follow. Deepen collaboration and increase self-awareness among participating teachers. Here's we have three observation. We have three stage for observation: pre-observation, while observation, and post-observation. What do you think about pre-observation? That the teacher should call the teacher who observes should call the observed teacher that he will attend and observe him or no? What do you think? Should the observer inform the observed teacher that he will attend a class with him or her?
I think no.
For me, it's yes.
Yes, it's yes. The observer teacher should inform the observed teacher that he will come and attend a class with him. Then, the observer teacher also should give the observed teacher rubrics. I will observe you regarding, for example, formulating outcomes and how can you, what activities you will do to achieve these outcomes. No more. I don't observe how the students will react to each other or will react to you. If I like to make a full observation, I will give the teacher the full rubrics. I will make a full observation with you. I will observe the students' interaction in the classroom. I will observe the activities you use. I will observe the outcomes formulating. Some teachers don't pay attention to formulating the outcome, but put them in mind and seek to achieve them. That's all. But if I, as observer, tell you as observed teacher, I will do so to keep in mind, to be fair with you, to not expose you to some kind of insult or unjust. Okay, and the observer be open-minded and make detailed descriptive records in preparation of the post-observation meeting. Before I go to the class and ask my colleague that I will observe him or her, I should inform him at first, then give him or her the rubrics which I will observe. Then I agree with him when will we meet after the observation, because we have exchange the discussion and the question after the observation meeting, not during. As observer, you include yourself in the process, in the learning process, or what you do?
Of course.
No, I think
What will you do?
No, I don't think I should. I have to let the observer to show me what his abilities.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad, thank you. You should, as observer, stay at the end, in the end of the class, and in the back of the class. Don't interfere at all, whatever what happens. Even if there a problem or even something emergent happens, you don't interfere at all. You stay silent and represent that you are neglecting what happened, and just look at your notebook, but your ears with the teacher and what is happening inside the classroom. That's why, to make the teacher feel comfortable and get rid of nervous and be calm to do better, to can behave more freely. Okay. It's said when I have made some observation online with the teacher, the manager told me stay as a fly on a wall. That's mean to stay silent. Don't say anything. Don't interfere at all. Don't use the chat book. Don't raise your hand. Don't make anything. And of course, on the ground, the same happens. Okay. After observation, what should I do? I should give. Can you guess from this picture?
Yeah.
Yes, Nisma. Yes, Nisma, go ahead, please.
Yes, give feedback. My feedback to the observed teacher.
It's called sandwich feedback.
You want the name of this type of feedback. Okay, it's sandwich. Yeah.
Can what sandwich feedback, Nisma? Can you give ideas for that?
Yes, I began with the positive feedback, then the weak points. I think, weak points of the observed teacher. Then I ended my feedback with the positive positive ideas or points of the teaching process.
Yes, thank you again, Nisma. I should start by giving my peer or my colleague the strength points. I thank him or her for doing something is very nice. You did that very well. Well done in doing on using groupers. Well done in using this task. You use differentiation. Your contact eye is very good. You're standing inside the classroom. You moved around the class, and these all things I should praise the teacher for doing inside the classroom. Then refer to some weaknesses, not for insulting or lowering from the teacher, but to pay the teacher's attention to make improvements and get better in their future plans. Then end with a positive feedback again. Not let the teacher and leave our meeting without smile. Smile on my face as observer, and smile on my colleague's face as observed teacher. Because we started 10 minutes later, I excuse you just to listen to watch a video for just 5 minutes. I will end the session as soon as the video ends. Do you agree?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, who's talking? Yes.
Mr. Muhammad. Yeah. Sandwich means
Yes,
to
Mr.
begin.
Muhammad. Yeah.
Yes, sandwich means to begin and end with both the positive things.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad.
Yeah, and
And in the middle, I give
I talk
recommendation.
about him.
Yeah.
I talk about him about the weakness, some weaknesses. But we should
Yes, weaknesses and
begin.
here,
Yeah.
yeah, you give a recommendation, Mr. Muhammad. Yes, okay, I hear you. Mr. Muhammad, I hear you. Do you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I thought you'd like me to read or to summarize what teachers should treat each other with
Mr.
respect.
Muhammad.
Yeah.
I don't hear your voice clearly. Can you repeat, please?
You can play the video now.
Okay. Do you hear the voice? Do you hear the sound?
No, we hear nothing.
Okay, okay. Go on.
Okay, hard.
Afternoon. Good afternoon. Our meeting today is to talk about the observation in your class from day before yesterday. Thank you for welcoming me to your classroom. The students were very eager to get the activities that you planned, and I enjoyed being able to, witness their excitement about learning. Now, during our time together this afternoon, we're going to discuss the observation and the data collected. And the purpose of that is to collaboratively review the data and to discuss how this informs your teaching. Now, we are also going to co-construct a plan that's going to reflect any adjustments that this data suggests for your teaching and the learning of your students. Now, I have given you some feedbacks in writing right after the observation, but what we're going to do is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts about the lesson. Tell me how you think it went.
Well, one of my goals for this year to improve student achievement is to really refine my questioning techniques. And I think the block you observed went overall pretty well. I tried to use a variety of levels of questioning, and I also tried really hard to give enough wait time following my questions for students to be able to really formulate really thoughtful responses. And I think that went well. I did read the feedback you left me. Thank you so much. I do agree with you, though. I really did use mostly questions that could pretty easily be answered. One thing I want to do better is to keep my questions in that higher level.
Okay.
I really struggle with questions that can help the students think creatively.
Well, you used a variety of questioning types. I mean, the students were generally responsive and engaged. Now, based on the data collection sheet that I used, during the observation, I basically went over different questions asked, and I collected data on those different types of questions. Okay. And I also collected data on the wait time.
Oh, great.
May I share that with you?
Sure.
Okay. Each time you asked a question, I noted that question, and then in this last column, I did an average of the combined wait times. What does that data tell you?
Well, I certainly asked a lot of questions.
Yes. Well, the data was collected around the goal types of questions and wait time. Which would you like to start with?
How about the types of questions?
Okay.
Well, I noticed I used a lot of basic lower level type questions, and then toward the end I used some middle level questions, but I really thought that I used a lot more higher level questions than I did. Well, the activity where they had to create an organism.
Okay.
That's higher level.
Yes.
That analysis level. They spent a lot more time there at the higher level.
Well, you're accurate there. Your activities were challenging and they required higher level planning and thinking of the students. Now, that's good. Let's consider the difference, though, between what the student is doing and your level of question.
I never thought about it that way. You know, I really was confusing what the students were doing and then my level of questioning.
And why might you think that that would be confusing?
Well, you keep telling us to focus on what the students are doing.
Right.
You know, what they're being asked to do to really learn this content. And I agree that's important, you know. What I need to think about is how my questioning is helping them to go deeper in their learning.
Right.
You know, just because they're doing a higher level activity, I still need to be asking those higher level questions.
Yes.
But before the data, I didn't realize that I was kind of lower level questions, lower to mid-level questions. And that I need to really balance that as I try to facilitate and guide them through their learning.
Right.
You know, I'm going to take notes about this in my lesson plan.
Okay. So what I think I hear you saying as appropriate, that you're going to focus on asking a variety of questions with higher level order ones. And in doing so, that's going to stimulate higher level thinking in the students.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I
Okay.
think I can do that, definitely.
All right. So shall we talk about the wait time next?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it's very obvious to see that my wait time decreased as the lesson went on.
Yes, it did. Tell me a little bit about why you think that may have happened.
Well, the increased wait time kind of encouraged some students to come off task, you know, and I felt I needed to shorten it a little to help them stay engaged and stay focused throughout the lesson. And then, of course, as you saw, they were blurting out answers and forgot to raise their hands.
Do you have any ideas as to how you may make the students stay engaged and attentive during that wait time?
Oh, I could have them in groups, maybe, and I can ask the group to answer the question instead of, you know, the variation where you ask an individual. And I can also reinforce raising your hands as a rule. You know, they have to do that.
Those are very good solutions. You've been very reflective on ways to improve the wait time and the questioning. So let's review what we have decided.
Okay.
All right. First, you're going to make a note in your lesson plans to cue you to make higher level types of questions. And then you're going to try the strategies of asking questions to a small group rather than an individual. And you're going to enforce the rule that they must raise their hands when it's appropriate to the activity. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I have an action plan and I'd like to leave a copy with you with all that
Great.
information in it. I've also provided you the link
Okay.
to a website that has great ideas about how to keep students engaged. And also it's going to include information on strategies for appropriate wait times. And I believe you're going to find it helpful. So do you have anything else that you want to mention or any questions?
No, I think we've covered it, and I really appreciate you helping me think through this and your action plan and your website. I'm really excited about really putting these strategies into practice in my classroom.
Okay, well, I enjoyed spending time in your classroom, and I enjoyed listening to you come up with ways to improve student learning.
Thank you.
I have high expectations of you, and I know you can do it. So I look forward to seeing you next time.
Yes, great.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for delaying you. It's now 10 and 14. As you watch it from the video, I will send the link to you to watch it again at your time, because I don't want to upset you or disturb you more than that. As you know, that the teacher at first welcome the observer, and they exchange smiles and shake hands, talk about let the observe teacher reflect and make self-assessment. Then the teacher suggests improvements for the observed teacher. Then listen to her suggestion what they can do. Then provided the teacher with a website to follow for better ideas and her suggestion. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate that. I hope I covered what I've mentioned. Briefly, we talked about summative and formative assessment, and consideration of designing assessment and alternative, and finally we talked about observation. Thank you for your time and effort, and you can leave now. I will send the data for you. It's most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. That was staggering.
Thank you, Mr. Yahya. Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Mahmoud,
Thank you so
are
much.
thank you, Mr. You are the first one and the last one. The first one to attend and the last one to leave.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Thank
Thanks.
you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
Muhammad. Mr. Mahmoud, thank
Most
you.
welcome.
Yes, thank you, Desma. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Said.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.